Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Handsome German, the only show on the internet. And tonight, I'm talking to you about the Exlene Gamecube controller Switch upgraded version black wireless Switch Pro controller with wake-up motion, adjustable rumble turbo, ampersand auto turbo is what I'm talking to you about today. Because, Exlene was actually nice enough to send me one of these controllers under the condition that I review it honestly. And thank you, Exlene, for that. Free controller, not gonna complain. And I'm actually very delighted to tell you that for $42, this is actually a pretty solid wireless GameCube controller with a couple of extra bells and whistles and only one real downside. So let's go through some of the footage I recorded and I will tell you all about it. So I'm going to turn down the volume a little bit. Okay. So one of the first things I do whenever I get a new controller is play Sonic Mania with it, because it's just a really, really fun game. And as you can see here, I move, I schmoove, I dart around the screen, and everything works fine. I do the old bounceroo on the first boss of Supersonic. And yeah, that really speaks to the quality of the control stick, which is excellent. Let's see, let's go to my Smash Bros. Footage. Let's go to my Smash Bros. Footage. Do. Yeah. There we go. Which I was very surprised to see that the control stick is pretty much perfectly on point. It has the same nice clickiness that you can hear here as I'd say closer to a Pro controller than a GameCube controller, but that works just fine. If you see me missing a bunch of attacks in Super Smash Bros. In the background, that's not because of the controller, that's just because of how I play this game. I haven't played it in forever, so don't blame the controller for that. And yeah, so as you can see, let's see here. It's good old Smash Bros. Gameplay, but I kind of embarrass myself by getting hit a lot by the AI because I'm playing Captain Falcon and I have to rush in like crazy. And for the most part, I didn't really notice any oversteering or unresponsiveness. I have noticed that it's a little harder to stop running than it is with a regular GameCube controller, but it's probably because this is, like I said, closer to a Pro controller, and those two work differently. So I can definitely say that if you're a casual Smash Bros. Player, this controller is going to do just fine. There's a little bit of a problem with the triggers, which are not always perfectly responsive, which is a huge oops, which is a massive shame. I actually have some footage to show that off. If I can find the mouse cursor, there we go. Let's take a wild guess. Oh, I guessed correctly. So first of all, I was very surprised to see that it actually, yes, does have gyro aiming. I am not using the right stick at all in this footage. I'm just swinging the controller around, very surprised that it can do that. So that's nice, and I found the gyro aiming very responsive and working perfectly fine. But here's the one big downside to the entire controller and the reason why it's cheaper than regular controllers. This is me for the entire duration of this footage, mashing RT over and over again. As soon as there's a monster, I just mash RT. And as you can see, I don't always actually fire the gun. This footage isn't to show off how terrible I am at Doom. It's to show off how unresponsive the triggers are. And if you want to listen to this, they're very springy. They pop right back into place. But there's a little bit of a delay in you pressing the trigger and it actually happening, which can cause some annoyances, to say the least. Now, the other thing that's sub-perfect about this particular controller is that in games that require a lot of precision, like Puyo Puyo Tetris in this case, you're going to overshoot your target every now and again, and you're going to have to make minor adjustments here and there. I grew up playing Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine and the Sonic Mega Collection, so I was used to playing Puyo Puyo with a Gamecube controller. But it was still a little bit spongier than I would have liked. It definitely slowed me down quite a bit. For reference, I usually play Puyo Puyo Tetris just with the directional buttons on the Joy-Con, because I just find them incredibly accurate. Not great for games like Puyo Puyo Tetris. Absolutely terrible for Tetris 99, because on Tetris 99 you used a D-pad. And if you remember the Gamecube, it didn't have a great D-pad at all. It's very small. It's very easy to make a misinput to input diagonals instead of just cardinal directions. So any game that is preferably played with a D-pad is also not going to work very well. Now, the other thing that's not going to work very well is games with complex controls, especially ones that rely a lot on muscle memory. So I have over 50 hours in Going Under because it's one of the best games of all time, and I love it. But playing it with a GameCube controller was an absolute mind fuck, because suddenly all the buttons were in the wrong place and I just fucking die on the first floor, which is incredibly embarrassing and has never happened to me in imposter mode before. So games that require an awful lot on Twitch reaction time, on complex inputs like rolling and attacking in rapid succession, if they're not designed for a GameCube controller, they're not going to work very well. They're not going to work very well at all. I tried playing Elden Ring with it for a bit. Unfortunately, that did not go very well either. The game is not designed to be played with a GameCube controller. The fact that the A button is this huge thing in the middle is something that you kind of have to design your entire game around. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out very well. But I can tell you that it works... Oops, that is the wrong folder. That it works really well with actual GameCube games, of course, which is what you'd hope, I imagine. I played a little bit of Super Smash Bros. Melee with it. Don't have any footage of it that I can find right now. But it worked well. I'm not very good at the game, so I can't tell if the game is very floaty or if the controller is floaty. That's a great video clip I got there. But yeah, you can definitely play GameCube games with it. The one caveat to that is that even though the controller just turned off, and there we go, it connects very quickly once you have it connected. Just make sure you look up a guide on how to do it. In the case of PC, you have to press Y, hold down Y, and then press the home button to enter pairing mode. On the Switch, you just hold down the home button in the pairing menu and it'll work right away. It's very nice that it connects pretty much instantly. As you can see in the corner there, well, not in the corner, in the middle of the screen, the main stick, the C stick, I'm rotating them. They're perfectly responsive. There's a lot of accuracy here. I can carefully circle around, theoretically. So that works great. Again, the control sticks and the face buttons are excellent on this controller. They work really, really well. One thing that's a bit of a bummer, the triggers are not analog, they're entirely digital, and you can hear me pressing. You have to press them down all the way, which is a little counterintuitive, because if you're used to GameCube controllers, if you grew up with them or if you still use them regularly, then you know that on those, just pressing the button slightly is going to do something. For these controllers, no. If you half-ass it, this is me mashing L, then nothing's gonna happen, which is a shame. The controller does have ZL or LB and LR buttons. LR? What the fuck? LB and RB buttons, which kind of helps make up for the lack of analog controls. And definitely allows the controller to be used with more games. But like I said, if the game isn't specifically designed to be played with a GameCube controller, it can be a little tricky. Now, when it comes to retro games on the Switch, there are good news and bad news, very much so. What's this footage? That's 18 minutes. Oh, that's my Smash Bros. Footage. What's that doing here? Quit? Out of it. So, N64... Actually, I took a picture instead of a video. N64 app does not work with the GameCube controller at all. So if you, for example, played Majora's Mask for the first time in the collector's edition on GameCube, then you're not going to be able to relive that experience. I was really hoping to play Star Fox 64 with a GameCube controller because it'd be nice to play it with a good A button. Those of you who played Star Fox 64 know you need a good A button to play that game properly. What's this? Yeah, here's me trying to select games in the N64 app. It's just not happening. That's a huge shame. I hope they can do something about that. Maybe there's going to be a Nintendo firmware update that increases compatibility. But for now, it's important to note it does not work with N64 games. It does work just fine with Sonic Mania. It works with Going Under, but is kind of a nightmare to play because all your muscle memory goes right out the window. It works well enough with Puyo. It kind of works with Doom. It works with the Sega Genesis app, or Mega Drive if you live in a civilized country. And yeah, it controlled just fine. I'm not very good at Strider. I just picked it because it was one of the first games that I ever played on an emulator because it looked cool. So I picked it for this. And yeah, I died. but it controls fine. I didn't notice any unresponsiveness there. The Nintendo Entertainment System app also works perfectly well. Yeah, nothing else to say on that. It works. You can play NES games on your GameCube controller if you so desire. This is me trying to play Metroid. This is me trying to play Metroid Dread with the GameCube controller. It theoretically works, but again, since you're supposed to be able to easily press the B and Y button together, it doesn't really feel all that good to play that on a GameCube controller. Let's see. Boop, boop. Super Nintendo, if I remember correctly. Super Nintendo also did not work, which was kind of a shame. So NES and Mega Drive games, if you enjoy those the most on the Switch lineup, then you'll definitely be able to play those with this controller. You'll definitely be able to play Smash Bros. I imagine turn-based games are going to work just fine. And yeah, what else is there even to say? Thank you for the controller. I would definitely rate this a solid 4.5 stars for the value alone, for sure. I was very impressed with how close it feels to the relatively new GameCube controllers that I have. I got one with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it got less than 100 hours of use, and it feels pretty much brand new. And this controller feels kind of the same, except for the unfortunate fact that the triggers are digital, which kind of could be a big turnoff to people who want to get an authentic GameCube experience out of this one. So I hope you found this informative, entertaining, and good to fall asleep to. And I'll leave a link to Exlene's website in the description. If you are in the market for a solid Switch Pro controller that only costs $40 instead of $70, then this one is definitely a decent choice. Just be aware, again, the triggers are digital. And it doesn't work with N64 and Super Nintendo games, which is a big shame. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.